I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that what you're about to see would have been an epic Herculean carry on my part, if not for the presence of the Fun Police in this game. That's right, we've got the chief of the Fun Police on the enemy team. His name is August von Parsival, and he's going to be issuing us several citations over the course of this game for risk of too much carrying. Now, I don't say that to be egotistical or arrogant or hyperbolic. I really would have carried this game if not for the presence of the CV. And there was absolutely nothing I could do to stop the CV from doing what he does to me. And that's what I want to talk about for this game. I want to sort of contrast the differences in strategy, or the strategies I'm employing against all of these surface ships. Meanwhile, this CV is able to remove my hit points with impunity. He's not going to start right away. You see there, he spots us over the island, which makes us hesitate in our push. Our original goal was to get to the eastern flank of this map and travel near the islands to the east of Charlie so that we could get a flanking position somewhere near there. We have to stop, of course, because there is a Flandra and a Musashi out there who can see us courtesy of those planes, and they could have shot at us if we continued our push at full speed. The planes are gone. The Sumner is now in their place spotting us, though. And you might say to me, because I've heard this argument before while I'm complaining here about CV planes spotting my battleship, I've heard that destroyers can also spot battleships, and they're often not seen while they're doing it, so it's basically the same thing a CV does. It is not, at all, ladies and gentlemen. Note that that Sumner smoked up, reversed into his smoke, and when he did that, he was no longer able to spot me. Furthermore, there are some islands over there to the right of the screen that if I turned left and I needed to disengage from this Sumner, I could put the islands between myself and him and break his line of sight, which means he wouldn't be able to spot me unless he left that capture circle and actually repositioned his ship. Meanwhile, since he is within spotting range of me and also gun range, it means he is inherently at risk. I've heard that an unspotted destroyer spotting ships has the same amount of risk as a carrier spotting ships. This is absolutely not true. It's not even close to being true. The fact that that Sumner is close enough to me and my teammates to spot us and damage us, potentially with his torpedoes, but certainly with his guns, means he's inherently at risk. Even if he never gets spotted, he's still inherently at risk because of his ship's proximity to his enemies. If he gets spotted, he will be damaged, or there's an almost certain likelihood that he'll be damaged because he'll be close enough to me or my teammates to be shot at. The CV can park his ship at the end of the map, send his planes over, use his planes to spot me, and then also use his planes to damage me. That would be the equivalent of something like the Sumner sitting at the back of the map, detaching his torpedo tubes from his ship, sailing the torpedo tubes across the map, and then using the torpedo tubes to both spot and launch torpedoes at point-blank, undodgeable range. That, mechanically speaking, is what the August von Parsival is doing in this game, and it is, forgive my French here, but complete bullshit. The reason I'm a little bit, as you can tell, irritated about it is because this game would have been a fantastic game if not for that Parsival, and in fact, after this game was over, I had to stop playing Legends for a little while. I actually switched to Chivalry. I was trying to grind out the rest of the campaign and thought I'd be able to do that the evening I was playing this game, but this one, it sort of broke my soul. Anyway, we're moving up a little bit further toward the Charlie Cap, very delayed in what we wanted to do. We were in a good position to take advantage of that Musashi's broadside, which we did. We've utterly crippled his ship, and for some reason he has chosen not to shoot back at us. But we're not going to play with fire anymore, of course. The Musashi does have 18.1-inch guns, and the Prinz Ruprecht is not the most heavily armored battleship known to man, so we put the island between ourselves and the Musashi. A very, very simple counter, because in order for the Musashi to damage us, well, his weapons are actually attached to his physical ship. So if his physical ship is behind an island, he can't hit us with his weapons, whereas the Parsifal has no such problem. Doesn't matter if there's an island, he can just sail his bombers right over it and drop us with impunity. No risk whatsoever, except for the fact that his airplanes might be shot down by our anti-aircraft guns, and then he might have to wait a little bit of time for those planes to regenerate so that he can send them out again. Meanwhile, the Musashi gets taken out by one of our teammates there, and that just leaves the Flandre and the Kutuzov on this flank, both of whom I could easily push into and shred with the Prinz Ruprecht. And note that I have lost only like 2,000 HP while dealing 76,000 damage. You might look at that and say I'm not tanking enough as a battleship, but that would be ridiculous. I'm, in fact, conserving my HP so that as the enemy herd begins to thin out, I will have enough HP to push into the enemy ships and rip them apart with my secondaries, main guns, and torpedoes, aka the thing the German battle cruisers, excel at. But the Parsifal, he just dropped torpedoes on the Massachusetts behind me, flying through my AA bubble to do it, sunk the Massachusetts, and now he's coming back around to launch torpedoes at me, still flying within my AA bubble, probably flying within the AA bubble of the cruiser behind me, and yet he's still able to get all 3 torpedoes in the water, all 3 of which are going to hit me and deal damage to me. In fact, during the entire course of this game, the Parsifal is the only ship that is going to do significant damage to me of any kind. If not for the Parsifal, I would be approaching this Flandre with near full health. And take a look at this. I'm not spotted by the Flandre, but I can see the Flandre. I don't think I'm spotting him. You want to know why? Because the spotting point on every ship is in the center of the hull. That's why sometimes you can put your bow or your stern around the corner of an island and not be spotted by the enemy. It's because they need to see the center of your ship in order to spot you. But the Kaga, the friendly Kaga, was flying his planes in the vicinity, and I'm pretty sure those planes are what spotted the Flandre. So he even got screwed by CV spotting. If not for the Kaga, I probably would not have been able to hit his citadel there. He probably would have still taken that torpedo, but he wouldn't have lost as much HP because I wouldn't have been able to hit his citadel. I would have had to push around this island in order to get shots on him and get my secondaries working and the like, which I would have done. But now, since we hit him so hard and he's reversing, we are reevaluating, sort of waiting for our torpedoes to reload. Meanwhile, the Kaga spots the enemy Kutuzov's torpedoes. We're slowing down, trying to make sure we can catch the gap as the August von Parsifal comes back and citadels us with his AP dive bombers. Turning now as the Flandre comes around for round 2. It's not going to work out too well for him. He doesn't have a lot of hit points. There, he does manage to chunk us for about 9k, which is the only hit of any kind of significance that a surface ship is going to get on us in this game because of our excellent positioning and because of our conserving our hit points in order to facilitate a push. The Flandre is dead. The Musashi is dead. We did the lion's share of damage on most of them, and now that just leaves the Kutuzov left alive on this flank. Looks like he's going to sail around that island and give us broadside. But the point here, ladies and gentlemen, is that positioning and island cover and maneuvering becomes entirely irrelevant when there is a CV in play. Obviously, it's very effective to use against surface ships. Again, if not for that CV, we would probably be sitting somewhere in the vicinity of 50,000 hit points, and we've done a very nice amount of damage, 115,000 damage. We've done most of the damage to the enemies on this flank and really helped our team clear it out. And we're being punished by the CV for no reason. I think we've been playing this game quite well. You can tell me if you disagree in the comments section, but I think the results speak for themselves. We are going to be able to take down this Kutuzov. I don't think we get the killing blow. That comes courtesy of the Kaga, but that just leaves a Citation and a Kronstadt left alive, as well as the August von Parsifal. So what we're going to do is sail toward the Charlie Cap, because we can see the Citation and the Kronstadt both look like they're sort of pushing south out of the Bravo Cap there toward our last remaining cruiser, which means if they continue on that trajectory, at least the Xarkun is going to be giving us broadside at some point, and we want to capitalize on that. Plus, the enemy ship has 2 caps, whereas we only have 1, so if we can enter the Charlie cap and flip it, that would be very helpful to our team indeed. And this approach, by the way, is a very good approach. The island is blocking the line of sight for the Xarkun and the Kronstadt. We can get very close to both of them before our position is revealed, or at least we could if there weren't planes that could spot us with no risk to the ship that launches the planes, and the ability to damage us with the planes. It is not a fair mechanic, ladies and gentlemen. CVs do not play by the same rules as surface ships, and I really don't think they belong in the game. They just ruin the experience for especially battleships like the Prinz Ruprecht, which rely on careful positioning, careful maneuvering, and concealment. The CV is able to prevent you from doing all of that stuff with absolutely no risk to it. He's spotting me again with his planes, although his spotting wouldn't be necessary. The Xarkun would be spotting me. But he is able to hover his planes over my ship inside of my AA, and then drop me and citadel me to within an inch of my life. Where's the risk for him? Where's the counterplay? Please tell me exactly what I could have done there to prevent myself from being citadeled by those AP bombs. Is there a button on my controller that I'm not aware of that I can press in order to list the ship to port or starboard and angle the deck against the sky? I don't think so. Even if there was, it wouldn't be effective against CVs that drop ridiculously powerful HE bombs. So here we are, within an inch of our life, through no fault of our own, I don't think. We've played very well up until this point. We're able to take out the Xarkun, but because we were hit so hard by that Parseval, we don't have enough hit points to withstand a single shot from the Kronstadt. So the game ends in a tragic loss. And I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that this would not have been so if not for the presence of CVs. CVs are just not a good addition to this game. There's a reason that the Mighty Jingles calls them the Fun Police, and there's a reason I stole that moniker. Because of this. I actually stopped playing this game for a while after this game happened. Hope you enjoyed the video, though. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.